Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Mark Carney made a stop in Halifax today at the Canadian Museum of Immigration on his cross-country campaign for the Liberal leadership. With support from Jaime Batiste, who recently dropped from the leadership race. Angel Moore reports.
Mark Carney announced if he became the next Prime Minister, he would cancel the carbon tax. But Indigenous peoples or reconciliation has not been a big topic on the Liberal campaign trail until now. Carney said his own approach towards reconciliation includes fixing child welfare, building houses, and green energy.
So much of that will happen in partnership with First Nations. So the economic reconciliation aspect, really putting not just words into action, but into projects consistent with UNDRIP and our responsibility.
Nova Scotia Liberal MPs were at the event to support Carney, including Jaime Batiste, who dropped out of the Liberal leadership race on Thursday. Batiste made history as the first Indigenous person to run for the leadership.
Over the past 48 hours, I had several conversations with Mark, and I asked him questions around the environment. I asked him questions about reconciliation, and it became clear to me that he was the leader that Canada needed right now.
An important issue in the Atlantic region is the moderate livelihood fishery. Recently, all 13 chiefs in Nova Scotia rejected an offer from the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans to be part of a $250 million program for all 36 nations across the Atlantic region. The chiefs said their treaties are not for sale and say negotiations are nation to nation, not with DFO officials. APTN News asked Carney if he would support First Nations managing their own fisheries. Carney said,
absolutely, we have a responsibility as government. My government will certainly fulfill our constitutional responsibilities and respect those rights. We want to have a viable fishery that works for First Nations, works for all residents and fishers in Atlantic Canada.
Carney says his climate policy will ensure economic stability and lower costs for families. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also called Halifax.
It's called Pledge for Canada and includes a number of Indigenous peoples who plan to stand up against U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to Canadian sovereignty. The group was officially launched in Ottawa on Friday morning. It bills itself as a nonpartisan organization that includes Canadians from across the political and cultural spectrums who will defend Canadian values like access to public health care. According to a press release, Pledge for Canada has been endorsed by prominent Indigenous activists such as Cindy Blackstock and Pam Palmater. Another member is Métis lawyer Jean Taillé, who had this to say at the Ottawa press conference.
We have to mobilize, we have to be vigilant, and we have to guard against this because this is what is going to undermine and eliminate the rights and dignity of the Indigenous peoples of this country. And we have been on a journey for a long time to fight for the rights of Indigenous people, and we've made tremendous strides. We're not there yet, but we have made tremendous strides particularly in the last decade.
This Saturday will mark a grim milestone for a First Nation in Northern Ontario living under the longest boil water advisory in Canada. February 1st marks the 30th year without safe drinking water for Niskantaga First Nation, an anniversary the chief says is unconscionable. Niskantaga First Nation is 430 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay. Residents have been forced to rely on bottled or boiled water for drinking, cooking, and hygiene. Multiple attempts have been made over the years to resolve the boil water advisory. In 2016, then Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, Carolyn Bennett, visited the nation and promised they would have safe drinking water by the spring of 2018. That deadline came and went with no progress. Chief Chris Munoz is calling on the next Prime Minister to take decisive steps to resolve the crisis.
Tomorrow will be the 30th anniversary of our boil water advisory. That will be 10,958 days.
Family members of a toddler who is the victim of a homicide say the little girl was vibrant and loved to dance. Manitoba RCMP on Thursday announced the death of a 2-year-old girl on Bloodvein First Nation. The girl has been identified as Josiah Young. Her primary caregiver, her grandmother, 56-year-old Burma Sky from Bloodvein First Nation, has been charged with second-degree murder. Josiah's aunt, Roberta Goosehead, says she raised her as her own until last October when she was struggling finding childcare and missing work. That's when Sky took the 2-year-old into care. Goosehead says Sky immediately cut off communication with her. Goosehead says Josiah loved music and dancing.
Josiah was really happy. Like, she loved to dance. She loved to cuddle. No, she was just a really happy baby. Like, she longed for that, like, long hugs and, she was really lovable.
Manitoba's winter road system is getting a $1.8 million boost from the province, driving the total investment to $11.3 million. The goal is to boost accessibility in northern communities and allow the flow of essential goods and services. The funding increase will help construct a winter road between St. Teresa Point and Barons River First Nations. The drive from Winnipeg to Barons River is approximately 4.5 hours long. St. Teresa Point is accessible by air. Last January, First Nations leaders called on Manitoba to construct a 252-kilometer all-season road between the two communities, citing climate change as a key concern. The province says Manitoba's winter road system serves 30,000 Manitobans in 22 communities. The Yukon government is investing $100,000 into the first phase of a crime prevention program for Whitehorse businesses. The Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce says over 40 downtown Whitehorse businesses have been hit hard by criminal activity like break-ins, shoplifting, and vandalism in recent years. The first phase of the program will provide businesses with funding for things like security assessments and safety and de-escalation training. The program is modeled on similar programs in British Columbia, Manitoba, and Alberta. It will be administered by the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce.
The ultimate goal of this program is that business owners, employees, and customers whose livelihoods are greatly affected by crime and vandalism feel safer and better equipped to handle security challenges.
A young Métis hockey player has returned home with a gold medal around her neck. That story and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. February is Saskatchewan Indigenous Storytelling Month. The event highlights the importance of Indigenous peoples sharing their stories across the province. Rachel May has more.
That's a huge component that I've noticed over the years is that not just that mode of transfer knowledge, but also that utilizing the traditions and the customs to for our modern day and age of inspiring each other and motivating each other, empowering each other, and giving us that positive energy we need to grow and heal and take on the world.
For 22 years, Indigenous storytellers have shared their culture and language in Saskatchewan. Starting February 1st, artists, poets, dancers, filmmakers, and musicians will tour schools, libraries, and cultural organizations across the province. Jessica Jenneru, project coordinator for the Saskatchewan Indigenous Storytelling Project, says a new theme is emerging as the project continues to grow.
We talked a lot about intergenerational trauma from the experiences of colonization, and now we're starting to see that the message come through of intergenerational healing, like that strength coming through of like we could do this, we can learn our ways again, we can learn our language again. We just need support, we need help, we need a community.
Generu says that the project brings people together to help preserve Indigenous culture. Tequila Friday, a Métis author and claymation artist, will share her work through February at the Chinook Regional Library in Swift Current. She says her family has been a big influence on her creativity and drive to keep stories alive, and now she wants to pass that on.
Now that I have nieces and nephews, I want them to know their culture, and though we don't have like the same traditions right now due to kind of like all the technology and people being spread about, I still want them to be able to come to my home and share some of those memories with them and those traditions with them.
Friday says attendees at her storytelling sessions will hear her family stories, jokes, and memories.
I will tell bits and pieces of the monster wolf dog and relate it to an event that actually happened to me, to where I thought this dog was following me. But it wasn't.
A full event list across the province is available on the Library Services for Saskatchewan Aboriginal Peoples website. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
The John Howard Society of Manitoba has relaunched a magazine called The Inside Scoop. It features written and visual works from incarcerated Manitobans. The John Howard Society is a nonprofit helping individuals who are in conflict with the law. The Inside Scoop's contributors include current and former inmates. The theme for the current issue is Where We're From. Contributors submitted everything from poetry to drawings to recipes. The relaunch aims to broaden the magazine's audience and allow the public to hear the perspectives of incarcerated Manitobans. The magazine was launched Thursday, and copies are available at McNally Robinson Grant Park, the University of Winnipeg, and the John Howard Society of Manitoba. A 17-year-old Métis girl from BC playing for Team Canada recently won gold at the Under-18 Hockey World Championship in Finland. APTN's Tina House had a chance to catch up with the young hockey star, who has some big dreams for her future.
Seconds wind down. Canada is golden! 2025 U18 Women's World Champions, knocking off their greatest rival, the United States, 3-0 in the final.
We're so excited to be joined by Danica Maynard, who just returned from Helsinki. Danica, what were you doing over there?
We were playing for Team Canada for hockey at the U18 World Championships held in Vanta, Finland.
And how did you do?
We won gold, and it was super exciting. It was a great opportunity, and it was amazing to do it with my teammates and all my friends.
That is so exciting, and actually you're wearing your medal right now.
Yeah, it's just such an honor to be able to wear it, and it's, I don't know, it's so honored, and it's so beautiful to just like be able to represent my country.
That's so exciting. And you're Métis.
Yes.
And you're the only Métis person out of BC to join this competition, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you're 17 years old now. How long have you been playing hockey for?
I started on the ice when I was just 18 months old. I was inspired by my brother. He's the one that kind of pushed me into playing hockey. And ever since then, I've always just played the game and been playing forever now. And I started on a team when I was 4, and I just always love it, and it's a passion of mine.
Wow. So tell me what the dedication this takes. I mean, a lot of early mornings to the rink and practicing, is that correct?
Yeah, me and my dad, a few people from Osoyoos, we would do some early morning practices. We would always go on the ice Tuesday, Thursdays at 6 a.m. And I think from that, just like waking up early and doing the skills outside of your club team and just pushing yourself every day is what helps you to accomplish goals like this.
Amazing. Do you have some role models in the hockey world?
Oh, a bunch. Got a bunch. Venla Hovey and Amanda Pelkey, they actually coach me. They inspire me a lot, as well as I like a lot of hockey players in the NHL. Like obviously, like there's Quinn Hughes and all that, as well as Joycelyn Larocque. I think she's also a great inspiration. She's also an Indigenous athlete, which I think is amazing.
Amazing. And where do you hope to be in your future?
Yeah, obviously I want to play in the PWHL, the new league, but for the next 4 years I'll be at Penn State University studying forensic science. So hopefully that, obviously that will do good, and then can hopefully continue with Team Canada as well, and go to the PW later on.
Incredible. Danica Maynard, a young star on the rise. Such an honor to meet you, and congratulations. We're so very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Back to you in the studio.
APTN was part of the Canadian Media Producers Association's Primetime Conference in Ottawa Thursday night. The event was a who's who of the Indigenous film and TV production sector, featuring an APTN look-back session with First Nations drummers, Métis jigging, and Inuit throat singers. There's our very own Krisa Nachkate. He was the master of ceremonies. During a panel discussion, APTN CEO Monica Ile had this to say about the recent launch of the APTN Languages channel.
You know, for us Indigenous people, when you lose your language, you lose a part of your identity. And it could be quite traumatizing. And it's traumatizing for people also to learn their language because you weren't allowed to speak it before, especially if you went to residential school. So having this channel proves that our languages are important, they're a part of us, and we want to share them with everyone.
Bill Wilson passed away this past week, and we're going to take a bigger look back on his legacy after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And our thanks to Colleen Chalifo for sharing this beauty of a photo. This was her view traveling near Banff, Alberta. She enjoyed the snow-capped mountains. Thanks for that. For the chance to be our next photo of the day, you can send your photos to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at your Saturday weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, -11 with snow in Fredericton, +1 and snow in Halifax. -24 in Kuujjuaq, 22 below for Nain. Sun's out and 13 below in Montreal, -19 and sunny skies in Val-d'Or. -12 in Sault Ste. Marie, sunny and 15 below in North Bay. -5 with flurries in Thunder Bay, -12 and snow in Sioux Lookout. Cloudy and -16 in God's Lake, snow and 15 below in Norway House. -6 with snow in Winnipeg, 10 below with flurries in Dauphin. -4 with snow in Regina and Estevan, 9 below in Saskatoon. -26 with snow in Uranium City and Stony Rapids. In northern Alberta, snow and -24 in High Level, 26 below with snow in Fort Chipewyan. -9 and flurries in Edmonton, snow and +5 in Lethbridge. 5 above in Vancouver and Victoria, +2 in Kamloops. -18 and snow in Prince George, 5 below with snow in Smithers. -38 in Old Crow, 22 below in Whitehorse. -31 in Yellowknife, 35 below in Norman Wells. Snow and -26 in Sax Harbor, -34 in Fort McPherson. -27 in Chesterfield, Whale Cove and Arviette. -27 in Resolute and Igloolik. Earlier this week, we brought you the news of the passing of Hereditary Chief Bill Wilson. He was known for going toe-to-toe with the Prime Minister and fighting for Indigenous rights. APTN's Tina House takes a closer look at the man that was Bill Wilson.
Hereditary Chief Bill Wilson, Hemas Klalilikla, was born in 1944 in Comox, BC, and passed away on January the 24th, 2025. His contributions to the fight for Indigenous rights in Canada is legendary. Corey Wilson is one of Bill's daughters. Today, she is at the Museum of Anthropology, where they have an entire section dedicated to their people, the Kwakwaka'wakw. She says culture was a huge influence on their family.
So all of these masks, like it's tradition that you can't just pick up a mask and go and dance with it. You have to be chosen to do it. He was a force of nature for sure. He comes from a long line of hereditary chiefs and leaders in our community. Kwakwaka'wakw community nation. One side is from the Musqueam-Zawatinik territory, and the other side is from Liquituk territory. And he was raised to be a leader and raised to make a difference in the world.
And many would agree, make a difference he did. Bill Wilson was well known for going toe-to-toe with former Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau at the constitutional negotiation talks in 1982, where he spoke about his daughters Corey and her sister Jody Wilson-Raybould in the documentary Dancing Around the Table.
I have 2 children in Vancouver Island, both of whom, for some misguided reason, say they want to be a lawyer. Both of whom want to be the Prime Minister. Both of whom, Mr. Prime Minister, are women.
Tell them I'll stick around till they're ready.
Both Corey and Jody Wilson-Raybould both not only became lawyers, but Jody became the Attorney General of Canada, eventually stepping down after her own fight with Pierre's son, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
He knew we could be anything. We could be the pinnacle of in the Indigenous community, and we could be what people often consider the pinnacle in Canadian society, which is Prime Minister or Premier or CEO. He knew that we could do or be anything that we wanted.
It was also at that same talks that Bill Wilson took a lead role in stopping the government from changing the Constitution to remove the obligation to negotiate self-government. Robert Phillips is with the First Nations Summit. He says Bill's legacy will carry on for generations.
Well, I think first of all, condolences to the family, the Wilson family, the community, the nation. In fact, all First Nations and Indigenous people owe something to Bill Wilson. As one of the, dare I say it, foundational fathers, someone that I grew up listening to. Some of the greatest speeches I've ever heard have come from Bill Wilson.
Corey says that her dad strongly believed in the leadership potential of all Indigenous people.
Every single one of us has a responsibility to ensure, and the word of the day, advance reconciliation, but really it's to ensure that there's full inclusion and equity in Canada and that everybody has a place. It's unacceptable in 2025 that Indigenous people are still at the negative end of pretty much every socioeconomic indicator in land that is ours. I think that's what he would want, and then he'd just tell us to get over it, get on with it. So. Stop crying around about it.
A celebration of life for Himas Klalilikla will be held on February the 23rd, 2025 in Campbell River, BC. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Great story, Tina. Thanks for that. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and Sierra Bettens will be here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to bring you APTN National News Weekend. Stick around. Kim Sullivan is up next with our French language newscast. I'm Dennis Ward. Merci. Miigwech. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.